Trelokya Natarana Shri Mula Guru Mahamudra Sinde Bhala Hum. Om Namo Guru Bazadre Trelokya Natarana Shri Mula Guru Mahamudra Sinde Bhala Hum. Om Namo Guru Bazadre Trelokya Natarana Shri Mula Guru Mahamudra Sinde Bhala Hum. Om Namo Guru Bazadre Trelokya Natarana Shri Mula Guru Mahamudra Siddhi Bhala Hum. Om Namo Guru Bazadre Trelokya Natarana Shri Mula Guru Mahamudra Sindhi Bhala Hum. Om Namo Guru Bazadre Trelokya Natarana Shri Mula Guru Mahamudra Siddhi Bhala Hum. Om Namo Guru Bazadre Trelokya Natarana Shri Mula Guru Mahamudra Sinde Bhala Hum. Om Namo Guru Bazadre Trelokya Natarana Shri Mula Guru Mahamudra Sindhi Bhala Hum. Om Namo Guru Bazadre Trelokya Natarana Shri Mula Guru Mahamudra Sindhi Bhala Hum. Om Namo Guru Bazadre Trelokya Natarana Shri Mula Guru Mahamudra Sindhi Bhala Hum. Together, all mother sentient beings, limitless as the sky, especially those enemies who hate me, obstructors who harm me, and those who create obstacles on my path to liberation and all knowingness. May they experience happiness and be separated from suffering. I will quickly establish them in a state of the most perfect and precious awakening. All mother sentient beings, limitless as the sky, especially those enemies who hate me, obstructors who harm me, and those who create obstacles on my path to liberation and all knowingness. May they experience happiness and be separated from suffering. I will quickly establish them in the state of the most perfect and precious awakening. All mother sentient beings, limitless as the sky, especially those enemies who hate me, obstructors who harm me, and those who create obstacles on my path to liberation and all knowingness. May they experience happiness and be separated from suffering. I will quickly establish them in the state of the most perfect and precious awakening. Thus, until I achieve awakening, I engage in virtuous deeds with body, speech, and mind. Until death, I engage in virtuous deeds with body, speech, and mind. From now until this time tomorrow, I engage in virtuous deeds with body, speech, and mind. In the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha most excellent, I take refuge until awakening is reached. By the merit of generosity and other perfections, may I attain Buddhahood for the sake of all migratory beings. In the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha most excellent, I take refuge until awakening is reached. By the merit of generosity and other perfections, may I attain Buddhahood for the sake of all migratory beings. In the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha most excellent, I take refuge until awakening is reached. By the merit of generosity and other perfections, may I attain Buddhahood for the sake of all migratory beings. May all mother sentient beings, limitless as the sky, have happiness and the causes of happiness. May they be liberated from suffering and the causes of suffering. May they never be separated from the happiness that is free from sorrow. May they rest in equanimity, free from attachment and aversion. May all mother sentient beings, limitless as the sky, have happiness and the causes of happiness. May they be liberated from suffering and the causes of suffering. May they never be separated from the happiness that is free from sorrow. May they rest in equanimity, free from attachment and aversion. May all mother sentient beings, limitless as the sky, have happiness and the causes of happiness. May they be liberated from suffering and the causes of suffering. May they never be separated from the happiness that is free from sorrow. May they rest in equanimity, free from attachment and aversion. This ground, sprinkled with scented waters and strewn with flowers, adorned with the supreme mountain, 4 continents, sun and moon, I hold in mind as a Buddha land and offer it. May all migratory beings experience such a pure land. Whatever slight virtue that may have been gathered through prostrating, offering, confessing, rejoicing, requesting, and beseeching, I now dedicate to complete awakening. Now, please turn to the Samadhi Empowerment text. So today, this morning, we will do the Samadhi Empowerment practice. And Friday, it will be Guru Puja. The next Friday, the 24th, it marks 2 important days. The general important day is that according to the Tibetan calendar, is the 6th month, 4th day. The 4th day of the 6th month commemorates the Buddha's first turning of the wheel of Dharma in Deer Park. It is said that after the Buddha achieved awakening, the first time he gave a full and complete teachings to his human disciples, these 5 monks, was at Deer Park in Sarnath, whereby he taught the 4 Noble Truths. The 4 Noble Truths as the heart of everything that the Buddha taught. So that's the more general day. It's called the Turning of the Dharma Wheel Day, Chokor Duchen. Chokor Duchen also is the day that His Holiness Drikung Kyabgon Chesang was born. So he was born on the Chokor Duchen Day. So it's also a day then to celebrate the birthday of His Holiness Drikung Kyabgon Chesang. So next Friday, the 24th, we will be doing the Guru Puja as well. So the Samadhi Empowerment practice that we've been looking at, this on the YouTube channel, there is a special playlist that is marked as Samadhi Empowerment. So if you want to review the Samadhi Empowerment, you can go to the YouTube channel and look at the recordings that have been placed there. Also, I pointed out to people that this Sunday, one of the Khenpos, a very educated Khenpo, Khenpo Sutrim Tenzin, who is the resident Lama at the Tibetan Meditation Center, he will be giving teachings as well on this Samadhi Empowerment practice. So if you have time, you can listen to that. As you all know, different teachers have different styles of teaching and different emphasis. So to have a broader exposure, if you have the time, it's good to have a sense of what is how you can learn more and broaden your understanding by also listening to the same topic but taught by a different person. Just as the Gongchik, as I have brought to your attention, another Kempo, also called Tenzin, but a different Kempo Tenzin, was teaching this at the Garchen Institute, which I believe maybe has been completed now, but all those are available on the Garchen YouTube, Garchen Institute YouTube channel. You can also go listen to those teachings, and those are on the Gongchik. So then again, you have a broader sense of how the same material can be handled probably differently. That's good to be more broadly exposed to how things are taught and what insights you can take from these different approaches. So the Samadhi empowerment, this is a very brief and short practice, although it contains all the necessary elements of the main practice emphasized by Kyopa Rinpoche. So the main emphasis of Kyopa Rinpoche in terms of how he trained his disciples to train their minds is through this system called the fivefold profound path of Mahamudra. So the topic of Mahamudra, and more specifically Mahamudra as a meditative practice, is, you could say, the main specialty of the Kagyu family, Mahamudra as a meditative practice. Mahamudra as the result of practicing Vajrayana, using Mahamudra in that way, as the result, the final result of Vajrayana practice. In that context, Mahamudra just refers to the result of Buddhahood. But according to this explanation, using Vajrayana vocabulary, it is called Mahamudra. But Mahamudra as a system of meditative practice, with its own kind of preliminaries, the steps, the stages to be led through, the stages to train in, training in this, training in that. That is something that is the specialty of the Kagyu family. And then more specifically is due to the teaching style of Gampopa, the main, one of the main disciples of Milarepa. So what Gampopa did is to combine the yogic, wandering yogi tradition of Milarepa. Gampopa combined that with the tradition of Atisha, the Kadampa tradition. The Kadampa tradition emphasized more the more settled and the more systematic approach to Buddha's teachings. Whereas the Milarepa style is very fresh, but also assumes that those who have the great fortune to meet masters like Milarepa can then be very skillfully and safely guided through the stages of the path. So it's more personal and also less structured. That is the Milarepa tradition. But what Gampopa did is to combine the freshness and the directness of Milarepa's approach with the more systematic approach provided by Atisha's style. So what we call the Kagyu family today, or the Kagyu lineage today, is really a combination of these two. So from Gampopa then, a system of meditative practice known as Mahamudra became very popular. And even that, Gampopa had different ways of introducing and guiding disciples through Mahamudra meditative practice. And one of the ways, one of the methods that Gampopa used is what's known as the fivefold path. And the fivefold path eventually became the main emphasis of how Mahamudra is practiced in the Drikung Kagyu, because Gyoba Jigten Sumgon himself emphasized this method, which he learned from his teacher, Pamodrupa. But it is also evident from Gyoba Rinpoche's many different teachings that he also trained in other methods of Mahamudra. And when necessary, when appropriate, he did teach the other methods. There's another approach called the co-emergence, the co-emergent presentation of Mahamudra meditative practice. So he also taught that when the occasion arose, and many other approaches to Mahamudra. But chiefly, he emphasized the fivefold path as the most complete and the most helpful for most of his students. So because of that, the Drikung Kagyu tradition now emphasizes this fivefold path. This fivefold path, again, as you remember, it's said that Mahamudra is to be practiced in relation to these five practices. So first is bodhicitta, then it's idam, then is devotion to the Guru, then is the natural state, Mahamudra, then is dedication. So all these five are said to be aspects of Mahamudra. So Mahamudra as bodhicitta, Mahamudra as idam, Mahamudra as Guru devotion, Mahamudra as the nature of reality practice, and Mahamudra as dedication. You could say that in some ways, Gyoba Rinpoche is using, is centering the importance of Mahamudra and using Mahamudra as a way to transform all these other practices. You could almost say that there's the general way of practicing bodhicitta, which is, emphasized by other traditions. But here, when it becomes part of Mahamudra practice, then there is a certain emphasis on bodhicitta that is grounded in Mahamudra understanding. Sure, all traditions practice idam, all Vajrayana systems of practice idam. But here again, is practicing idam with a Mahamudra emphasis or a Mahamudra flavor. All traditions emphasize Guru Yoga. Here is done with a Mahamudra flavor. Then the fourth one, which is what is, you could say, mainly what Mahamudra is about, that's the fourth one. It is called the natural state Mahamudra. Ne-luk. Ne-luk chakchen. Ne-luk. Ne is abiding. Luk is the way it abides. The way things are, the way things abide, the way things remain, the way things are in. That kind of Mahamudra is the natural state Mahamudra. Then all traditions also emphasize the importance of dedication. But here, this dedication is done with the Mahamudra flavor. Yeah. So then when we look at a practice like the Samadhi empowerment, we can see that it too is a crystallization. It's a essential way of practicing the fivefold Mahamudra. So it begins with bodhicitta. Then it goes to idam, just one line on idam. Then it goes to Guru devotion. Then it goes to the natural state, meditating on the natural state, which is also the nature of your mind. The natural state of all phenomena and the nature of your mind, they have the same essence, they have the same characteristics, they have the same principles. Then finally, dedication. So that's how the fivefold Mahamudra is present in this text. Then, when you look at this text itself and the way it is arranged, then it's arranged into three parts. The preliminary, which is bodhicitta. The main practice, which is idam, guru, and the natural state. And then the third part is the conclusion, which is the dedication. So it's divided into three parts. Then in the main part, the receiving of empowerment and the understandings that come with the four empowerments is how one meditates on the natural state. The natural state Mahamudra, the fourth of the fivefold path, is done in the context of the receiving of the four empowerments. So we've gone through already, the last few times where we talked about Samadhi empowerment, how to actually practice Samadhi empowerment on the cushion and off the cushion. To summarize again, I said the main emphasis right now, the main focus right now for majority of us is to stabilize, to first work on receiving the first empowerment, the face empowerment. So now empowerment, right, is no longer, we are less concerned with the ritual, the putting the vase, the putting the bumpa on your head and drinking this water and eating that and incense and music and, Vajra master and, making commitments and getting up, sitting down, walking around, having things put on your head, left hand out, right hand out, drink with left hand, drink with right hand, right, wrong, oh, you did it wrong, oh, terrible, oh, you did wonderful. All of that is secondary. It said that, that the true way of receiving the empowerments, and then specifically here in this context, the first empowerment is that what is being communicated, what actually empowers, need to enter your system, so to say, need to arise in your heart. If it doesn't arise in your heart, if it doesn't arise in your heart, at least you can work on having it kind of take roots in your knowledge base. At the very least, your knowledge base need to have some material related to the base empowerment. And then with that knowledge base, during practice, you don't actively go try to retrieve information from the knowledge bank, from the knowledge base that you have. You don't actively go look for it there. Then your meditation becomes too discursive. Again, there are traditions of practicing in this way, a very systematic going over. First you think about this, then you think about this, then you think about this, then because of this, now you think about this. Then if this is true, then this has to be true. Then if this is true, this has to be true. Kyoba Rinpoche said, this is not the tradition that we emphasize. That particular tradition, especially in the Gelugpa lineage, that is strongly emphasized. I think frankly, if the Dalai Lama would prefer that you do that. He is such a champion for clear intellectual understanding. Of course, he's not saying just intellectual. He's saying without that intellectual basis, then it's all fuzzy. So also take that to heart, but also recognize that in the Kagyu lineage, And then especially the way Jigten Sumgen would teach it. He says, we don't do it that way. Instead here, right, if you are going to study, if you're going to learn, that's good. You increase your knowledge bank, you increase your knowledge base. But when it comes to the meditation, when seated on the cushion, you don't actively go try to retrieve that information. Instead, you work on letting awareness become present. Present to what now? Present to the information or knowledge related to vase empowerment, so that when it arises more naturally, and therefore can sink in your heart more deeply, rather than as one explanation said, when we're looking at the Gongchik about the four getting stuck and the three strayings. One of the getting stuck, right? One of the getting trapped is trapped by the seal, which means you apply the Dharma teachings like it's a label. It's like you have a label maker, You go around tagging everything in your house. Sofa, table, chair, microphone, computer, mobile phone. Not only that, then you also tag, empty, 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 empty. So Gilbert Rinpoche warns, that's getting trapped in sealing, in labeling. Seal, like label. That's getting trapped in labeling. So you're just labeling things as empty, or you're labeling things as luminous or clarity. And you can get trapped there. So here, we don't focus on that. Then you say, well, then what do we focus on? Well, start with using meditation objects skillfully in order to settle the mind. In order to settle the mind. That is the foundation. If the mind is not settled, so whether you use breath, whether you use a Buddha image, whether you use a mantra, whether you use your own, whether you use idam as a way to settle, or you use guru as a way to settle, that's fine. The key is settle. Then as the mind settles, then whatever that might come from the context of receiving the vase empowerment, whatever insights from there that might surface, that can let it kind of grow, so that you can be led to experiencing what the first empowerment, the vase empowerment, is about. And so last time we talked about this, I briefly went over how, first of all, what are the 5 skandhas? What are the 5 aggregates? And why it is important to be able to sort out our experiences and see how they are merely the coming together of the 5 skandhas. Then on the basis of knowing how to and appreciating the insight that comes from seeing how all experiences are simply the complex and many different possible ways that the 5 skandhas are coming together, the 5 aggregates. Then from there, seeing how the 5 aggregates in nature are what we call the 5 Buddhas. That the 5 aggregates, in essence, is what we can also understand as the 5 wisdoms. And in that way, then, getting closer to the heart of what has been communicated by the vase empowerment, which is that all phenomena, both mundane and supramundane, meaning worldly and world transcending phenomena, meaning samsara and nirvana, they are inseparable in being by nature and from the very beginning, the mandala of the awakened body, speech, and mind of all Buddhas. If we actually see this directly, rather than just, not just as in, because just is also important. So first you need to have the just intellectual appreciation and understanding. And that just is important. But that just have to be a way to lead to at least a glimpse of how all phenomena, mundane and supramundane, are inseparable in being by nature and from the very beginning, the mandala of the awakened body, speech, and mind. Then we train in this understanding. Then we train in seeing how the aggregates are the 5 perfect Buddhas. The elements, the physical elements, are the 5 mother Buddhas. Lochana, Mamaki, Pandaravasini, Samayatara, and Datishwari. And how the 3 realms of existence, the sensual realm, the form realm, the formless realm, are pristine from the very beginning. All of samsara and nirvana are birthless. Yet they appear essentially birthless, as in on the essence level, they have never truly existed. Yet they appear in the manner of like illusions, like movies, meaning capable of performing functions, but lacking in fixity. Now let's go to the Samadhi Empowerment text. Page 2. Together at the bottom. So that all mother sentient beings, limitless as the sky, have happiness, be free from suffering, and achieve the state of Buddha, I shall meditate on the yoga of the 4 empowerments. Oneself appears clearly as the idam. Fingers away from the point between one's eyebrows on the lotus, sun, moon, and silk brocade seat is one's root guru, the embodiment of Vajradhara. In the glorious form of Heruka the Bhagavan, holding Vajra and bell together with Vajravarahi, who holds a Katri knife and a Kapala, father and mother adorned with bones, jewels, and colored silks, legs outstretched and bent, majestically poised with the 9 Rashas, with Kalaratri and Bhairava on the ground, dwelling in magnificent luminosity and brilliance. Whatever slight virtue I may have gathered through prostrating, offering, confessing, rejoicing, requesting, and beseeching, I now dedicate to complete great awakening. Guru, great Vajradhara, please bestow the empowerments upon me. Guru, great Vajradhara, please bestow the empowerments upon me. Guru, great Vajradhara, please bestow the empowerments upon me. From the point between the eyebrows of the father and mother Guru, white light emanates and dissolves between one's eyebrows. Obscurations of body are purified and the supreme vase empowerment is obtained. I am the exalted body of the union of all but this, the identity of appearance emptiness and the mandala of deities. This white light penetrates into your crown chakra. From the crown chakra, the white light that turns into white elixir flows through all the channels, down the central channel, entering into each nodal point, each chakra, where there are branch channels branching out, many other channels branching out completely into 72,000 branches. All these branches are filled with this white light, this light of elixir, the elixir that comes from the vase. Thus purifying and taking away all concepts of fixation onto this body, fixation onto ordinariness. All of that is purified and carried away. Thus this body is experienced as the body of Idam, appearing and yet empty, and yet appearing vividly, appearing as a body of light without any substance. As a side effect, as a byproduct, all disease, all pains, all discomforts of body are removed as well. One gains freedom from being dragged around by the body and the concerns related to body. From the absorption at the place of union of the Father and Mother Guru, white and red light with the luster of desire dissolves into one's throat. Obscurations of speech are purified, and the supreme secret empowerment is obtained. I am the exalted speech of the union of all Buddhas, the identity of sound emptiness, and the nature of mantras. Then from the endless knot of the heart of the Father and Mother Guru, blue light emanates and dissolves into one's heart. Obscurations of mind are purified, and the supreme third empowerment is obtained. I am the nature of the exalted mind of all Buddhas, realizing freedom from all bonds of arising, abiding, and ceasing. The Father and Mother Guru melt into lights and rays and dissolve into one's crown, purifying fixations of the three doors, and the fourth empowerment is obtained. Within the wisdom of sameness of exalted body, speech, and mind of all Buddhas, spontaneously realize the vast and equal essence, abiding in the Mahamudra of uncontrived wisdom. Through this virtue, may I and other migratory beings quickly achieve the glorious Guru. Having become that, may we establish migratory sentient beings, all without exception, in that very same state. So especially when we're just starting to practice this, we should not drag this practice too long, because then dullness and distractions will come in. Then your experience of this practice is going to be not so fresh and always kind of and like imprinted by dullness and distractions. And those are the two kind of chief troublemakers when you're wanting your mind to settle. It either becomes distracted, as in the mind rebels against the settling, it wants to run around, or when you finally get it to not run around, then like a child, it will pout. So it will become dull. It doesn't want to cooperate. It will try to shut down. So before these two come in to kind of taint your experience of this practice, don't let it get to that point. So you keep it short at the beginning. Let's see if there are any questions related to this practice and the explanation so far. Everything clear? Come on. I don't think it's that clear. Yes.
Who is Kalaratri and Bhairava?
Kalaratri and Bhairava. Bhairava means the terrifier. Kalaratri is the consort. in the cultural context of Heruka and Vajavarahi kind of appearing, right, which is the cultural context is ancient India, Kalaratri and Bhairava are the two main deities worshipped by other people. But in Vajrayana, they become symbols of the two extremes, nihilism and essentialism. And they become symbols of that. They become the symbols of duality. So when Heruka and Varahi stands on them, like presses down on them, it means that Heruka and Varahi transcends these two extremes. So in the broader context, this is Shiva and Shakti. Bhairava is another name for Shiva, and Kalaratri is another name for Shakti. Of course, this is not to say that, we go step on other people's gods. In the context of India, this is not really other people's gods. These are also gods that even Buddhists in India would worship as the great gods and goddesses of the world. And sometimes Shiva is called Mahadeva, the great god. So when they're stepping on them, it means like they have overcome. They have transcended these two extremes, these two dualities.
Dr. Lai.
Yes.
In the first step after the preliminaries in generating bodhicitta, the visualization of the yidam. The yidam is to our choice, whatever we relate.
Correct.
Whichever one we relate to.
Correct.
And do you find in practice it's helpful to actually have the physical statue for visualization, picture? Because I find that the imagination needs a lot of exercise. Sometimes we're not good at visualizing these things. We get out of, our imaginations have been taken away from us.
Yes, right.
So the multiplicity of all these images, do you in practice think it's helpful to actually have a statue or figure of the deity, of the yidam? Now
it sounds like Tibetan Spirit paid you to do this commercial break.
Oh yeah. Getting the regular checks.
There's statues and tankas and images that you can download online. Now almost you don't need Tibetan Spirit. They have two functions, of course. One is to serve as aids, right, for us to visualize. One is to serve as an aid. With regards to that, then of course, they are helpful. But there's also one warning, now to the detriment of my business. I'm saying there's also one warning. They say that if you rely too much on how a craftsman has kind of crafted this deity representation this way or that way, there is a danger of not danger as in woo danger, but there could be a problem where when you visualize, relying too much on that image, on that statue, on that tanka, that you don't really own, so to say, right, the image. It's always like on the basis of some statue, some painting out there. So they do say that you want to Right? Maybe even if you look at the statue, gaze on the statue. So I in other contexts where I teach Idam practice, Idam training, then you begin by gazing at a statue, gazing at a Thangka. Gaze. So you're not forcing your mind to remember, oh, this, that. But by gazing on it, it kind of imprints are made slowly, and over time, it becomes stronger and stronger. So that's how we let this arise, right? Now, there's a second purpose and function to these statues and paintings and images, which in Tibetan they are called ten. Ten literally is support. But another less literal word is abode. A support, often they are called support for the body, speech, and mind of the deities. So images or statues of Buddhas or Idams, those are said to be the support for the body aspect. Then Dharma texts are support for the speech aspect. Then stupas are the support for the mind aspect. Body, speech, and mind aspects. And here support means the abode. Another word, less literal translation, but communicates what it means here, is that the body, speech, and mind blessings, the body, speech, and mind, the exalted body, speech, and mind blessings of the Buddhas can abide in these physical objects. So the second function of these images, of these sacred images, of these sacred statues and objects is that they serve as a physical receptacle. A physical receptacle for the blessings to remain, for the blessings to take some form. Because we are embodied beings, we are beings with bodies, so we need to train how to relate to physicality. So in one of the translations that was just done, we still have to add it. It's a very short teaching on how to rely on the syllable Om to train our mind so that the mind is settled enough for wisdom to arise. So there it says, Kyoba Rinpoche quotes one passage from some tantra, which is not identified. But here, in this tantra, the Buddha Vajradhara was addressing Vajrapani and saying to Vajrapani, said, Vajrapani, if you want, one way to let your mind settle is to meditate on the syllable Om. Then he says, you can draw this syllable, paint this syllable, carve this syllable of Om. And then it says, then you should consecrate it. And to consecrate, consecrate is, of course, our English word, and it has certain Christian connotations. Here, the Tibetan is rabne. Rabne is causing the blessings of the Buddhas to bub. Remember the word bub? First line of Gongchik uses this word bub. She some bub. Bub is to come down, to descend. So cause the Buddha's blessings to descend, to come into the Om syllable. In this quote, and it says, then you keep this Om syllable with you. with the understanding, meaning what's implied there is you keep this image, this card, this Om card with you after it has been consecrated, so that now it can serve as an object, a ten. Now object, ten with the meaning of object, for meditation, for your mind to dwell on, for your mind to anchor itself on. The first function of statues and sacred images, as well as the reason why it can function more effectively than, say, this mug is because it has been consecrated and also it has been recommended by the Buddha. Because the blessings can come through from a consecrated, like, say, prayer wheel. In ways that if I walked around with this mug, it probably has less ability to bless as compared to this. Now, it all changes if this is Milarepa's mug. Then Milarepa's using of it has consecrated it, you know. It's become the abode for Milarepa's blessings. Yeah?
So having these things around us to see during the day helps us to substitute these or focus on these,
yes,
as opposed to the objects we typically meditate on, whether it be
yes,
furniture, money, other
yes,
objects that are that keep us in this dual state.
yes,
We can realize what this means and see
yes,
them and make that connection. It's a practice.
Yes, yes,
in the proper way.
Yes, but you don't want to overwhelm Bill and your
No.
family.
You don't need but a few.
Sometimes also, you know, like people, Tibetan Buddhist practitioners.
Overdo it.
Yeah. Oh my God. You know, they turn
Yeah.
their place into, like, you know, and as much as I run that business, business wise, it will be good for me. It's too much, you know. So even one of my lamas said, you know, the opposite can also happen, you know, when it's like a decorative item, you know, it stops making an impact on you. So sometimes, like this tanka, you know, sometimes I like to put the cloth down, because these are things that we have to do to kind of trick ourselves. I put the cloth down. I don't roll it up, but I put the cloth down, so that when I walk by, I was like, oh, yeah, there's something. Yeah, there's something sacred, so to say. Now, the point of, like, this is something sacred is so that, you know, slowly, this can become something sacred. Then even, oh my God, this is something sacred, but not yet.
So it's a way to transition.
Yes.
To larger,
yes,
the larger world.
A broader understanding, more encompassing understanding.
Yeah.
How, right? Vase empowerment, all phenomena, mundane, supramundane, samsara, nirvana, are inseparably a mandala of body, speech, and mind. Including, like I shared last week, you know, how habitually, right, we have our strong concepts of, like, nice and not nice, right? And so now my neighborhood is it's enjoyable to walk around and just zoom into beautiful yards, beautiful flowers, well kept, well designed, right? So I did that, and it was good, no problem. I wasn't, necessarily like actively going, ooh, yuck, the other one, yuck, the other one, yuck, the other one. But nonetheless, right, I was just kind of focused on the beautiful yards, the well-designed gardens, so on and so forth. So, but then, luckily, I did have an experience where one day when I was walking, it just hit me like, but all the other yards are also divine and pristine. And I was able to appreciate that the people who live in these other homes with other yards and other things, like how they are satisfied, their sense of satisfaction, their sense of being in a place, being like sort of like lords of their mandalas, lords and ladies of their own mandala. It's like, of course, that is their mandala, And so you get a little taste, of the vase empowerment. One thing to point out with the question about Kalaratri and Bhairava, if you look at this wood print, the line drawing of Heruka and Vajavarahi, that is in the Samadhi Empowerment text, underneath the right leg of Heruka, Chakasamvara, is the Kalaratri, female. And underneath the left leg of Heruka Chakasamvara is Bhairava. So Bhairava underneath left leg, Kalaratri underneath right leg. And Kalaratri is laying on her back, and Bhairava is laying on his chest. These are just some details. Because there is another system of Chakasamvara Heruka that has this reversed. In the end, it doesn't matter. But before we get to the end, it matters to pay attention. In the Drigong system of Heruka Chakasamvara, it's in this way. Underneath the right leg is Kalaratri, laying on her back. Underneath left leg is Bhairava, laying on his chest.
They're both holding.
Hmm?
They're both holding these Khatri knives.
They have different things that they hold, The text that I'm familiar with, don't go into details of what they're holding, but clearly what is painted here is they're both holding Khatri knives. And in fact, there, that could be a mistake there. Usually Bhairava is holding a trident, and Kalaratri is holding the Khatri knife.
I've got an image of that depiction.
Where it's the trident and the Kalaratri.
It's a trident.
And the Khatri.
And
Yeah.
she's got a skull cup and a cut and a
and a cup and cutlery knife
Cutlery knife. Mhm.
and a skull cup, right?
Can't tell what's in his other hand.
Hmm.
Hard to tell.
It could be also skull cup and
Actually, it is. It
Yeah.
is. It looks like it is.
yeah, skull cup and
And the trident.
trident. Yeah, usually Shiva usually holds a trident, and the skull cup is they reside in cemetery, so that's how their vessel, the bowl for eating and drinking. So we'll take a break and then we will start continue with Gongqi. Yeah.